Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Try Time podcast. It's episode 23. I'm Callum. It's just me today, no Matt, but we have got as first guest, which is Gregg McNally, current Whitehaven player. How are you doing, Greg?
Thanks, mate. I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. So,
Good.
essentially, first guest of the season, just going to be talking to rugby with Greg, that sort of thing, and getting into it. So, I reckon we go back to when you first started and that sort of thing. So, as you're, looking up to become a rugby league player, that sort of going to be professional, semi-professional, whichever it is, what sort of players are you looking up to at that time? Who you're looking up to?
At that time, I was a bit of a massive Saints fan at that time. Growing up, although I was living in Whitehaven, I was obviously supporting Whitehaven. So I was a massive St Helens fan, and going through the golden ages, as I call it, at St Helens, with the likes of Sean Long, Leon Price went from Bradford to St Helens, and Jamie Lyon, people like that. But I'd say going through rugby as an halfback, as I grew up with originally as an halfback, and probably I was looking at Sean Long and Lee Breeze are the ones that I was kind of looking up to and trying to emulate and hopefully building my game around that really.
Yeah, I'm going to say, looking back to them sort of times, they were definitely the two that I think stand out in my mind from in terms of the top halfbacks in Super League. Yeah, so I definitely see that. So in terms of you've obviously come up, you've got to I'll talk you through it, you're 17 years old, you debut for Whitehaven, you score a hat trick. Now, what was that like? Talk me through that day from when you knew you were making your debut to actually doing it and scoring that hat trick.
It was a bit weird leading up to it, to be honest. I think we played Whitehaven played Leigh Miners in a Challenge Cup game, and I remember this is a couple of months before, and I remember going out to the ground. I weren't playing, but for some reason all the fans were like clapping me and saying, "Oh, it's brilliant! They're giving you a go." And that I was like, "What you want about?" I'd literally gone to just I don't know if I'd just gone to do some kicking or something, and they thought I were playing. And I think from there, I think we had Paul Crary, I think was the coach at the time, but then he left, and then Jed Stokes took over, and I think it was Jed's first game. We played Oldham away in the Northern Rail Cup, and he just said, "Oh, do you mind coming along? Just just sit with me and have a watch and experience what first team rugby's about." And I said, "Yeah, definitely." So I jumped in. I didn't know whether I was well nervous. I didn't know whether to take me bag in case I were playing. And he called me up at last minute. I didn't know what was going on, but I took my bag just in case. Luckily, I didn't need it that day. And then I was 18th man for about 5 or 6 weeks. But it was one of those that he told me it was just kind of just get me into the system and get me used to being around the first team and get to know everyone. And I was just taking it as a Whitehaven lad, thinking it was a free ticket to go and watch my hometown club and getting to be right on the sides and running on with the cone. So I was proper enjoying it. I think we played Batley the week before I played, and I think we had a bit of a poor defeat, and they were a bit of a relegation battle with us, and we were on the edge of being massively in that battle, and we didn't want to be. And we came to I think it was a Thursday. So we played on a Thursday. We turned up for training on Tuesday as normal, just did everything as normal. And then Jed pulled me and Chris Smith, another guy that made his debut that day, pulled it one side and said, "Oh, you've been 18th and 19th man for a while now, and I'm going to give you a start this weekend." Well, I was like, "Oh God, if you couldn't give me a more baptism of fire." The Salford were unbeaten at the time, obviously they were full time in the championship, and we, no disrespect, and not won a game for 3 or 4 weeks, and we were struggling. And but it was just that buzz. I remember going home and saying to Mum and Dad, I'm playing this weekend." They're like, "No, you're not. No, you're not." I said, "No, I am. I'm getting a start." And so it's all the practice I've been on the Kells pitch, and obviously watching Whitehaven home and away when I was younger. It was just a bit of a dream come true for myself.
Yeah, I'm going to say. I mean, I've seen. I know recently, Sky Sports Rugby League have shared, haven't they, on Twitter about it. I've seen
Yeah,
that
they have. Yeah.
going around. And it does look class, mate. To be fair, so obviously that's massive. You can't get much bigger than that. Such a good sort of start. Where does that rank amongst your like career highs? Is it the best
Uh,
or?
I think it's definitely up there as the best. It's I don't know. I've got a couple that are from my career. I'll probably go on to them a bit later on the other ones, but that's probably up there. One of my favourite. It was just I remember the whole day was surreal because I was still in sixth form at school. I was going to which is a bit equivalent to college. I was going in with my mates, and I had to say, can I leave a bit early so I can go and have a bit of a nap before I play? Because I was just that hyper, and I thought I just need to calm myself down. I remember putting my earphones in and going for a walk, and I live on Kells, which overlooks the ground. And I remember walking to kind of the edge of the hill and just looking over and seeing all the Sky cameras, all the Sky trucks pulling in and putting all the cameras up, and it kind of hit home, and I was getting a bit nervous, and it was just, I don't know, it was just, but as soon as I got to the ground, I don't think I've ever been so relaxed before a game. It was like, this is what you wanted to do, and this is, you've got your chance to just go and take it. And fortunately, things fell my way that day, and I couldn't have predicted it to go any better, to be honest. And it's something that I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So, like I say, looking back at it, it sounds absolutely class from a place. You can't really start off much better than that. So,
No.
did you know that you hold the joint record for the most points in a match for Whitehaven? Did you know that? Oh,
Well, after the game, I found out, and it annoyed me, to be honest, because I think everybody we were at Featherway, and I think we were Feather, one of them that was tipped to go well again, and obviously because the next 5 or 6 seasons they were at the top of the championship, and they tipped them again. Darryl Powell had just come in, and we went there with a bit of a busted side. I think we had a few reserve players playing, and I think we were 20 odd nil up after 15 minutes or something like that. It was something crazy. And I remember, I don't know how many I scored. I think 2 or 3 that day, and kicked some goals. And I remember coming off at the end, and they were like, "What were you doing on that last kick?" Because the hooter was more or less going to go. I was near the post. We'd won by, I think we were 52-22 up at that point, and I just kind of hit it and shanked it, and it just went wide. It was
yeah,
one of
yeah,
those that I should have kicked, and they all walked off, and they were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" You went, "If you kicked that, you'd have broke the record." I went, "What record?" I went, "Most points in the game," and I didn't realise until that point that I'd scored that many points in the game, and I was like, "Geez, I didn't even know." But yeah, it's something you look back on, you think, "Oh, only if I took that extra couple of seconds, I might have been in it." But I don't mind
yeah,
sharing. I think it's Mick Nanning. I think I share it with, who
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
went through a good stage at Whitehaven, and it's a bit of an honour to share him. It's nice to be in the record books up there.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I'm going to say it's class that you up there in record books. So, in terms of obviously you've moved away through some different clubs after Whitehaven, you know, like Leigh, Bradford, etc. With a few of them clubs, obviously you've played against Whitehaven, being sort of like your home club. What is it like playing against them? Is it the same as any team, or is there a bit of like emotional connection there?
It's a bit. I think the first game I was at Leigh, and I'd not obviously I played not. Oh, sorry, I played a friendly against Whitehaven as part of my deal when I signed at Huddersfield. Was the year after we go back and play a friendly. Whitehaven as part of the transfer fee or whatever it was, so Whitehaven get a bit of money that way. We played in a friendly. We actually beat them 24-22 with our academy team. It was quite a surreal moment. It was a bit like tongue in cheek. It was because I kicked a winning kick as well. It was 22 all in, and we scored in the last minute. And then I put the kick over to win the game 24-22, and it was a bit tongue in cheek, and it was all good banter. Like we had a bit of a laugh with the lads and that. But I remember going back with Leigh in 2013, and it was on Premier Sports as it was back there. And I don't know why I just got proper nervous. It was one of those like in front of the TV cameras going back to my own town club. It was my first proper official game against them, and uh, fortunately I got man of the match that day and I had a decent game. But I've been up there before when we played not too well, but with great wins, and the fans have let me know about it, and they've given me a bit of banter and stuff. But it's all good banter because I know 3/4 of the fans in there, they're all mates with my dad, and I know that they're giving me a bit of banter, and I don't mind giving it back to them because obviously they know me from growing up. But it was a bit. You get the odd one that takes it a bit too far, and but you get that in every club, and you get used to it, and you just got to laugh it off and try and play rugby is what we're there to do.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I definitely see that. You know, you do see some players when they return into clubs and they get absolutely battered by their old team and that sort of thing. But I guess if it's a bit more friendly, that sort of thing, it must be better.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I actually I've had worse off elsewhere. I think Featherston's the worst I've ever stood. I've stood underneath them posts waiting for a kick off, and I've been absolutely peppered from that open end. They've absolutely hammered me, and I think that's the
yeah.
worst I've ever had. But it's all I've been back a couple of times since, and it's always been good banter. And I have a bit of a laugh back with them, and they take it in good heart.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think that's what you get with rugby league, though, and it's definitely it's not really personal, is it? It's always a bit of good laugh with fans and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so I guess linking to this, and I'll go back to like I'm a Bradford fan, so I remember some of them. I'm going to talk to you about sort of what the best team you've ever played in, and as an outside fan, some of them Leigh teams sort of as Bradford has just come down to Championship. Some of them games between Bradford and Leigh were some of the most fieriest games I've ever seen. Especially where I think it must have been like 2014, 2015. I think it was first game of season over at Leigh, and they were bust up within the first 2 minutes, something like that. Do you know which game I mean? I think
I
it was
do know what skit.
Danny Williams. I think it was from Bulls.
Yeah, and the other person was me.
Or, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was actually. I just didn't want to. I
It
didn't want to
was,
get it wrong.
yeah. It was a bit of a, obviously it being built up as a massive game. We were also going to be rivals that year, 2015, and I think we just signed Fui Moi Moi, and
Yeah, mate,
obviously
I remember that.
just transitioned to full time. So it was a big game for us, and we kind of targeted that as a bit. We'll lay the platform down that we want to do well that year, and obviously Bradford wanted to do the exact same thing. And yeah, I think first 10 minutes, I think there was about 25 penalties given. I think Harry Seeker, he got sin binned in that first 10 minutes or something, and then
Yeah,
I think Danny Williams dropped the ball over the line, and for some reason I started screaming in his face. It was just the hype of the day. There was like 6,000 on it. It was one of the biggest occasions we had at LFC, and I screamed in his face. And to this day, I still regret it now because that's not me, and I shouldn't have done that. But he pushed me, so I pushed him back, and next minute I just started seeing stars. He landed two on my jaw, and I was like, "What the hell was that?"
really?
It's a good job everyone come flying in because I reckon it'd have put me straight on the floor and knocked me out. And
Yeah,
I got punched in the face twice and got sin bin for it. I was like, what was going on here, ref? But it was that game was it was just honestly the maddest game I've played in. I know we Leigh come away with the win in the end, and we played well in the second half. Because the first half we were terrible and Bradford hammered us. But it was just one of the looking back the craziest game I've ever played in with refereeing decisions. I don't think it on the day. Obviously, I think was it Joe Cobb. I think on the day. I think it was when he's just coming through. Obviously, inexperienced, and it was a massive game, and we needed someone to grab it by the scruff of the neck. And I think we got away with some stuff, and then Bradford got away with some stuff, and we just started pushing boundaries and pushing it to the limits. But yeah, it was just a crazy, crazy day. But it was a good day at the end of the day as well. It put the championship on the map, championship league on the map as well.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to say I remember because before that, obviously, that was kind of my first taste of going to a championship match. Obviously, watching Bradford home and away, sort of in Super League, and going now like, oh, is this what championship's all about? Scrapping inside first 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure that scrap end up in stand. I'm pretty sure it did, didn't it? You ended up like going over barrier or something like that. I swear it was. Fans were all were a nightmare. Good game though, quality game.
There was, yeah. There's a picture of actually, I think it's Tommy Gould in our back row is mid punch, and or just after punch, and Jay Pitts is actually over the actual advertising boards into the north stand, is into the fan. I don't know how the Leigh fans didn't get involved with the Leigh fans. I don't know. They done well to hold back, but yeah, it was just a pretty crazy game. I think it was about 5 or 6 yellow cards and about 500 million penalties. It just felt like it was stop start. But I bet Bradford thought we don't want to play in this every week because it was just penalty after penalty, fight after fight. But it just seemed to follow us that year. I don't know why. Everywhere we went, it just followed the fights. But I know we got a lot of stick, but the majority of the time we did not start them. It was kind of people in trying to incite us to try and take us off our game, and stupidly we rose to it sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to say around them sort of few years, it definitely were a stigma around Leigh of like they're the sort of dirty team, that sort of thing. And I'm probably one who probably went towards it as a Bradford fan. I know a lot of Bulls fans weren't happy with it and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I do think it were a case of other teams signed and knowing that I'm thinking, right, well, we'll go toe to toe with you and start fights as well, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So
Yeah,
in terms of,
go
go on. Now you go on, mate. Go on, finish it.
No, yeah, with the personnel we had, we were a bit of a fiery team as it was, so it didn't take much to wind us up. And I was a young, naive person back then as well, and I used to get a bit wound up, and there was lashing out, and with a lot. I think Jamie Hatton got banned for about 5 million games that we had, and then there was other lads that got banned. I think Sam Barlow got banned for about 6 or 7 games as well. But there was always, I think it was always a ploy with a majority of teams, especially there's no disrespect to the lesser teams, but they thought if they brought us down to that level and try to niggle us and cause issues of fights and get players sent off and sin binned, it would work out in their favour. But I think looking back, if we were a lot smarter, I think we'd have been probably come out with a better reputation and maybe possibly got promoted that year, like we thought we were going to do.
Yeah, I'm going to say that season you were absolutely flying, weren't you, at top of league? I'm going to say you were doing, you definitely did better than Bradford. And as a Bradford fan, I expected us to kind of not walk it, but do a lot better than we almost did. But obviously, we got to £1 million game that year. So we performed sort of towards the back end of the season. So what would you say the best team you've ever played in is? Is it one of them Leigh teams? Is it further back sort of in your sort of Huddersfield days, or is it whereabouts it rank, or even the Bradford time you had?
It's tough. It's definitely a Leigh team. But I think the Leigh team is more only because the structure we played and how we played, how we expressed ourselves was really, really suited my style. And my biggest regret, I'd probably say 2015 side, for the way we executed our game plans and the way we threw the ball around and the way the kind of rugby we played must have been exciting to watch because it was exciting to play and I loved it. But one of the biggest regrets is the 2016. Obviously, I got injured early on in the last pre-season game. I snapped my LCL and I was needed a full recon. I was out for 5.5 months, 6 months. And my biggest regret is not being able to play in a team with like Rennie Matua, Harrison Hansen, Corey Patterson, like Willie Tonga, people like that come through. That I think that would have been special that year playing that team because it's full of star-studded names, and obviously we spent a lot of money that year, which everyone knows. But I only played, I think it was 5 or 6 games in the last couple of league games and 3 or 4 in the middle eights until we got promoted, and then we kind of changed the team. But that's my biggest regret, not playing in that team. I think that would probably be one of my favourite teams I've played in.
Yeah, definitely. I do see that. I know them sort of times for Leigh were really exciting. Where you kind of just knew they were going to get promoted from a fan's point of view. Knew they were going to get promoted at some point. It was just when and if they can put it together in sort of middle eights. Because that's the thing with stuff like playoffs, in it. It's like you can be dominant all season and then fall apart in playoffs. It's all about kind of how you manage under pressure, I guess. That's
It's madness. We went like I think we got beat off. I think we lost 1 league game that year. I think we drew at Bradford. We lost against. I can't remember who we lost. London away. Went to London away and lost 1 league game. And I think the bookies had more or less paid out for us to go up. And it was like there's still 8 games. So we knew there was still 8 middle eight. So there's still 7 games to go. And we were like obviously Wakefield was struggling at the time. OKR had a few injuries after they'd been at the Challenge Cup final and stuff. And then obviously you've got Bradford and then you've got Halifax, who never an easy game. Salford obviously had like Rangi Chase, Harrison Hansen, people like that in. So we knew damn fine well it weren't going to be easy. And I think a lot of Leigh fans at the time got a bit ahead of themselves, and some people at the club have got ahead of themselves and more or less got us promoted, and they were planning for Super League, and we'd not quite made it yet. But that was disappointing that year because I thought I don't know if it was we tried too hard during the league and we busted bodies and we were that tired. When we come to mid-lights, we just looked tired. And I think that first defeat, I remember we got beat our first OKR. I think we went 22-4 up with 20 minutes to go. And if we just see that game out, I think it's a totally different story. But that defeat, they came back, they defeated us. That defeat, and we went to Salford away, got beat, and then back our edge, you're thinking, hang on a second, we've not lost a game. We've lost 1 game all year. We've lost 2 on the bounce. And it was right. We're not used to that sort of environment, and it was just a bit negative. And then Wakefield come, who were tipped to actually replace. They beat us 17-16 with a Lee Smith drop goal, and it's like, oh, here we go. We've got to do it the hard way. And I think we lost all confidence. I think we went to Halifax after that and got beat there. And obviously, Bradford came to our spot and we had to win to have a chance at £1 million game, even if it was just away. And obviously, Bradford turned up on the day and they were better than us. It was just one of those. We were mentally gone, physically gone at that point. And I think the club realised that at that point. At the end of the year, looking back, Rolls, I know he left at the start of the year before, but pre-season was a lot more smarter. It was all focused on what we're going to do to the back end of the year. The first 6 months was always going to be hard for us physically and try and get into ready for the middle eights, which fortunately that plan worked out quite well because we got promoted.
Yeah, I'm going to say definitely, like I've said, looking back at them Leigh teams, some of the best sort of championship teams that you'll see, really. I know championship's probably stronger as a whole as it is now, but then some of them, I think, even Bradford team back then as well, I thought they were 2 standout teams in that league, definitely. So, in terms of, obviously, you played a lot of your career sort of in the championship. Who would you say the best player is that you've ever played against? Like, who's been the hardest to deal with and that sort of thing?
Yeah, this one, geez. Um, probably from a fullback's point of view, when we played in the middle eights and we played against Danny Bruff, it was a nightmare. Obviously, he's got one of the biggest boots you've seen. He can move a ball in ways that David Beckham can't even move away. In some ways, the way he kicks the ball, So he's probably hardest as a fullback to deal with. I remember when we played obviously Bradford in the first game in 2015, and all I got drilled in my head that week was, you mark Lee Gaskell, you watch Lee Gaskell's kicks, and you win us this game. And so in my head, I had it on my wrist. I write things on my wrist, but I need to remember the game. And it was, stop Lee Gaskell, you win this game. And I remember just following him around the field and watching his kicks because he kept grubbering and scoring like crazy tries, really, just all in pre-season and obviously all during the year. And he was one that was always made to make sure we look out for. But as a championship player, there's I used to hate playing against Menzies. Menzies
Oh yeah,
used to come flying out for me every single time when I was out the back, and he picked me up about 4 times and dropped me on the head about 4 times as well. And I still don't know how he didn't get a ban or sent off for them, but he just gets up and just smiles. He's one of the nicest guys you'll meet as well. And
yeah,
one game in 2015, someone put a kick up. I've caught it, and as I went to catch it, I've looked up and he's coming steaming at me with his head down. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm gonna die. I don't know what it was. I don't know if someone ran in front of me or what, or there was some barrier placed in front of me, but it bounced off me. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've just bounced Men's ear off. I'm about 80 stone, 80 kg wet through, and he's about 120. And I'm thinking, wow, that just happened. But he was always the one I always hated playing against because I always knew I was going to get hurt against him.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to say, do you find that where you sort of some at championship teams, kind of the players that there's some big bruising forwards as well in championship. There's some big fellas knocking about.
Yeah, there's I think every club in the championship has a big pack, and there's always someone that one player from each team just wants to knock your head off all the time, and it always ends up being my head that they always try and knock off. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I just annoy them, but there's always someone that wants to have a go, and as I say, it's normally me that cops it.
Yeah, yeah. So going away from sort of your club rugby for a little bit, obviously you have represented Ireland. Sort of, what's it like representing Ireland internationally and that sort of thing, international rugby league?
No, it's brilliant. Honestly, they always say that like, we'll get together. It's best time of the year because we always say this. It's not like club level pressure. There's not the week in week out. Yeah, you are representing your country and you are want to do well and you do want to still qualify for the World Cup. Well, this year in our case, we wanted to do well in the World Cup, and there's massive expectations on ourselves that we've put on ourselves to do well. But it's just the best time of the year because you get with people you don't normally play with. You get people you argue with. You get people that you whack with. You whack them in a game, and then you meet up with them at the end of the year, and it's just fantastic. It's just a different culture. We all have a laugh. We all know the pressures of the season that's gone on, and it's just nice to go there and refresh and have a bit of a laugh with some different faces. And there's never any egos. We always get on, and it's always good after a game as well because you always get to have a good drink in Dublin, which is always nice for a big pint of Guinness.
Yeah, mate, that sounds class to be fair. So obviously played a decent few sort of caps for Ireland. Who's sort of list off some of the best sort of players you've played with for Ireland? Like who's stood out to you? Player that is there any players that you think maybe at club level you've never really got a chance to play with, but you're glad that you have at international level, if you get what I mean?
Yeah, I'll name him one straight away. Liam Finn. He tormented me when he was at Fev. He was half. I was at fullback and played a bit half against him at Whitehaven and at Leigh. But the way he used to run a game, we used to call him wear the dinner suit because he never used to get tackled. Even when he did, he used to score a try, and he just controlled the tempo of the game, and he never had that. He never looked like he had that bit of pace, and I always thought he could step up to Super League. He didn't go until he was a bit later on in his years, and he still performed there. So it was nice to play with Finney and pick his brains and see where he looks at rugby or which way he looks at rugby and try and help that towards my career. And so that was great to play with people like Simon Griggs. I only played a couple of games with Simon, but just his professionalism and learning from him, it was great and good to see him now going into coaching and doing well at Halifax. And his brother Scott, he was a bit of a mentor for me. I come through Huddersfield and transitioned from halfback to fullback, and it was just after Brett Hodgson left, and we were told kind of it was going to be me or him. Obviously, I knew it was going to be Scott because he had a lot more experience with me, but he wasn't one of those that just kind of, oh, well, he wants my spot, I'm not going to listen to him. He literally taught me through every session. Every bit of skill he was there trying to, you do this, Greg, try this, and he was just brilliant for me. coming through as a young kid, and can't thank him enough for what he's done. And even when we went to Ireland, he's still guiding me around and trying to help me out. And I've always been very appreciative of what Scott's done, and I've always been a big fan of his career, followed it wisely. And there's players like Tyrone McCarthy, Bob Bezic, Cy Finnegan was there, who I played with at Leigh and played with Ireland with, which was good. There's a few more. I just can't remember who they are now because we've had that many that played for Ireland.
Yeah, I get you. So obviously for Ireland, I guess, as well as you're playing with different sort of players than you would at club level. What about the players you're playing against at international level? Is there anyone that stands out to you that you've played against there that you wouldn't get the chance to play against sort of at Championship Super League level?
Yeah, there's one that stands out. I remember we played Wales. I think we went down with a bit of an unrecognisable team. We had a few flew over from actual Ireland and Ireland domestic lads, and they're a bit of a rugby union, rugby league players. And we went to Wales away, and I think it was just a friendly. Then we ended up beat 34-0, but he had his back rower playing, and he was making his Wales debut, and he scored a hat-trick inside the first 12 minutes. And I never really thought anything of him. I just thought, he must be a good player. And it wasn't until I started watching State of Origin and then watching the Aussie team, it was Tyson Frizzell. And
Oh yeah, I remember he used to play for Wales.
Yeah, looking back, and I was thinking, oh my God, he was one massive human. I remember he brought the line, and I tackled around his legs, and it was like a bit like Michael Jordan and on Space Jam. He had to just stretch his arm out and just put the ball down. So it must have been about 10 meters out, and I don't know if it was that or he actually dragged me 10 meters with me around his legs. I don't know what it was, but probably the latter. But yeah, it was just people like him. It was just good to play against, and I can't think who else. A lot of the French lads who played when I made my debut for Ireland. It was a lot of the French lads like Tony Gigot were coming through. Like Remy Casti, people like that have all been at the highest level, and it was good to test myself against people like that as well.
Yeah. So do you think, like you've said about in terms of behind the scenes, like with the players and that, it's a bit more chilled out for internationals? What about the actual games? Do you think they're more chilled out, or is there a bit of an extra edge to them with them being sort of international and more pride at stake, that sort of thing?
No, there's definitely no relaxing with the games. It's definitely full on. I remember making my debut, and obviously got Irish family. My nan and granddad are Irish, and on my dad's side, and I've got a bit of Irish on my mum's side as well. And I know how much it meant to them for me to wear that green shirt and sing that national anthem. I just remember being on TV, and my mum said, "Were you crying during that national anthem?" I said, "Yeah, I couldn't help myself. It's made me proud, and I'm a proud Irish player, and I'm proud of my family and where I've come from, and it definitely psychs you up a lot more. And obviously, even when you hear them like on a Six Nations rugby union, you've got 60,000 singing it. Even the hairs on the back of my neck sit up there, and I'll be sat there watching it, weirdly singing it, and the kids will go, "Dad, will you just shut up?" Because I'm singing an Irish national anthem. But it definitely adds a bit to the edge because obviously everyone's representing the families. It's not just the club and the fans, and it's the whole country you represent, and you want to do the country proud and do the right thing for them. And so there's no definite. You don't relax when you go into them games. It's pretty full on because if you do relax, you get found out because the international games are definitely a step higher, which we're probably going to find out even more this year. In our group, we've got Lebanon, which is obviously going to have people like Josh Mansour from Penrith, and probably a host more of Aussies that can't get an Aussie team. And then we've got New Zealand. Got New Zealand, obviously. We know New Zealand are about, and then Jamaica have got another strong squad. They've got a lot of Super League players that are in there, and people that have been at the highest level, and it's going to be a test. And I'm just looking forward to going there and having a good dig.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to say it is going to be interesting this World Cup this year because I think we saw it kind of at the last World Cup how nations such as Lebanon and even sort of Ireland as well. I know you wasn't part. Well, you was injured, weren't you, for that squad for World Cup? Was you?
Yeah, no. Weirdly, we got relegated. I've been told I was going to be selected, and then we got relegated in a £1 million game on the Sunday. Is it Sunday or Saturday? And then we were out on our end of season due. And I got an email saying I wasn't selected, and I was like, oh, so I've been relegated, and then I've been told I'm not going to Australia for a month. So I was like, it was a bit double whammy from that day. But yeah, I didn't get selected that time. The time before, I had to pull out because I had work. I was part time, and I couldn't afford to take a month off work to obviously with bills and stuff. I had to pay and support the family. So hopefully this year it's going to be third time looking. I'll get to represent Ireland, and hopefully on the big stage get to show what we're all about.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to say I did look into that as sort of why you want it sort of in the squad, and I have seen an article somewhere saying that you like pulled out. You was meant to be in the squad, but you pulled out through injury. So someone's obviously got the source wrong somewhere. But
Yeah, yeah,
that's fine. Like I say though, it is you can see how the international game is progressing with teams such as Ireland. That squad that they had there, obviously, if you couldn't get into it, that shows how good the squad obviously were and that sort of thing. So it's definitely going to be an interesting World Cup.
yeah.
So going into more of the sort of loose stuff, more enjoyment sort of side of it. What's obviously you've been on quite a few away days, I'm sure, whether it's with sort of the Island lads or with Leigh or Bradford or whichever. What have you got? What's your best away day story? I'll say where something funny's happened or just crazy. You know what I mean? So that sort of thing.
I think every day I've been at Leeds been a crazy day. I think there's always been a story or something knocking around. There's one that sticks in mind. It was a pre-season training camp. It was will it have just been no, I don't know if it will have been just leading up a few weeks before we played Bradford, or it was the year after. I think it was the first year we played Bradford, and yeah, it was then. So we went to was it? I can't remember. Yeah, it was because Fui came. It was Fui's first time we ever met Fui. I'll start on that first actually. So we were all at training around this athletics track, and all these athletes are running around, triathlons and sprinters and that are all priming for like European Championships and that, and we're some pub rugby team in the middle, as we used to call ourselves, just in the middle of training, and this big guy starts walking over and like big afro and stuff, and we're like, who the hell's this? I got a clue who this is walking over. And then we got there and realised he had a leak kit on. I'm like, that's Fufu Moy. Like, we didn't get told he was coming out. We thought he was making meeting us when we get back, but apparently he flew out early. I've never seen a group of lads, rugby players, professionally, run over with the phones to a player who's in their own team and start taking selfies with them. We were all stood there and
Really?
we're just like, what's going on? Fufu Moy is playing with me, and we're all taking selfies. He must have thought, what have I come to? Because I'm not used to this, obviously, with my own team and stuff. So it was a bit of a surreal moment with him. And later on that week, we did a triathlon, so we did a bit of a, I think it was a bit of a, it wasn't even a bad swim. It was a bit of a swim, run up, pick your bike up. We go top this mountain and back. I'm not the best swimmer, so I was at the back, so I can't swim. They always say cats can't swim, and that's why I'm apparently a cat, so I couldn't swim. So then we got on our bike, and everyone's on these road bikes, and I've been left with a mountain bike. So I'm going up this massive mountain. They're all flying down with their helmets on, that streamline, looking down and taking no air whatsoever. And I'm just there like I'm on a casual ride on my bike. So I got this top come back down. We did a bit of a run around the track, and then we finished. I think we had a beer waiting for us at the end to say well done, and then we got told there was no more drinking that night. Obviously, we were going back home in the morning, but there was a disco. We used to call it the discotheque. It was called. It was a nightclub on the site, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And there's this nightclub, and it was open that night. And we were like, right, end of this week, we're going there. So Rolls said, no drinking. If you're having a couple by the bar, once you've had them couple, got yourselves off to bed, and we'll get yourself sorted in the morning. Well, you can imagine saying that to like 26 rugby lads who have not had a drink all week, and they're abroad. They've got no one around them. No one telling them they can't have a drink with no kids and that there. So we've all kind of snuck a few beers back to our rooms, and then we thought, 1 o'clock, should we go to La Discotheque and see what it's like? Well, I started walking. We got there, and I thought, right, I'm gonna go back to the room. I can't remember. I think I'd left my phone on charge, so I've come back to the room to get my phone. As I've walked back, Rolls is walking around with three coaching staff. Stops me. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just gonna give. I think I was rooming with Riddy, Martin Riddy at the time. I was gonna give Riddy his card to get in because he's lefties. He went, where's he at? I said, oh, he's just down there playing cards. I said, all right then, no worries. And he just started saying, how was the day gone? Did you enjoy triathlon? I was like, yeah, talking to him. And I just looked up behind. Something caught my eye behind him. And on top of this, they had a supermarket there, and you had to walk through an arch to get to the discotheque. And because we were stood there, no one could get there. And I've looked, and Riddy's on top of this roof, waving at me, laughing, just going like that, laughing. And he starts doing cartwheels across this supermarket roof in the middle of our estate. And then next minute, I see no rest of lads run across this roof, jumping over, and you could just hear bang, 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 jumping. Rolls like, what's that? I said, oh, nothing. No one's gone past us. No, lads have climbed up this ladder, jumped across, run across supermarket roof, jump over just to get to the nightclub on the other side. And Rolls was like, oh, And I was like, oh, Rolls, I'm gonna have to go now. I'm a bit tired and that. So he left and he walked back to his room thinking that everyone was in the rooms and everyone had run behind him over this ladder across this supermarket roof and jumped over and gone to nightclub. We had to say we had a right night then anyway. And then in the morning we woke up and realised we were all hungover. I think he realised what happened.
Yeah, it's like kids on a school trip, isn't it, by the sounds of it?
Yeah,
When you're on a
exactly.
school trip and you're trying to sneak past teachers and all that sort of thing. Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
a quality story, is that?
no, it's one of my favourite ones, especially with Martin, because obviously I get along well with Martin. It was just funny because saying about him because we all stuck together and it was just him doing cartwheels. And I was thinking, why is he doing cartwheels? And I couldn't keep a straight face. And Rose was like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, he said, "You drunk?" I went, "No, no, I'm not drunk." But wasn't bothered about me being caught being drunk. I was more bothered about him being caught doing cartwheels on top of a supermarket in the place with a lot of security guards around.
Oh dear, I would say that is quality. That is quality. I wish. I bet you wish as well. Someone had a video footage or something of that to spread around. But that's
Yeah,
quality, is
definitely.
that? So I guess kind of staying on that sort of topic. Obviously, you played in a few teams, been in a few different sort of dressing rooms, that sort of thing. Who's the biggest joker you've ever played with?
Biggest joke. There's a few. There's a few that come to mind. When we were at Leigh, it was Liam Kay was a bit of a joker, but Sam Barlow was probably the biggest at Leigh. He had a, he, I can't remember his car, Jamie Aston's car, I think it was. I think him and Johnny Walker put 2 chicken fillets up his exhaust pipe, and he blew his exhaust pipe out one year and tried to blame everyone else. He was just doing just random things. He just everyone had done it with Barlow. I'm trying to think who was at Bradford. There was always something. I was trying to do stuff with Mighty Garside, hands down. We had a was it dice rolls? If you were late or you got accused of doing something like, oh, you didn't push or something like that in a game, and someone will throw you under the bus, and you have to do a dice roll. One of the dice rolls was like a hot sauce, like a hot chili sauce. It was the hottest one. I think they brought it off eBay. It cost about 20 quid. It was the hottest sauce in the world or something. So anyway, Liam Kirk ended up rolling it, getting this number. I think it was a 6 or something like that. So like it was like a squirty veil sort of thing. So he's put it underneath his tongue, he's put it on, then you've got to leave it 30 seconds. Well, whilst he's done that, Matty Garside's picked this this sauce up and he's got a bottle of Lucasade next to him, Kirky. He thinks obviously he knows what's going to happen. He needs a drink after it because not allowed to drink for 30 seconds. But anyway, Garcia's screwed his top off. He's dropped about 3 massive veils of this chili sauce in his Lucasade. Tied his lid back on, put it down. He went, "Hey, Kirky, get yourself a drink. It's been 30 seconds." So he's there squigging this bottle of Lucasade down. And he's like, no, his eyes are crying. His face is bright red. And he's just going, "Oh, I can't take it anymore. It's not stopping. It's not stopping." He went, "No, have some more, have some more." And he doesn't know, but he's got like triple the amount of what he's had in his tongue in his bottle, and he's just downing it. So he's making it even worse. Gas is there laughing his head off. I think Kirky was so that it was where we were training. I think he was there for about an hour and a half after it because he literally couldn't move off the dressing room seats. And then Gas is there just laughing and ringing me saying, "Did you see what I did? Did you see what I did?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was just brilliant. Gas is good at stuff like that, and I think he once put between him and Michael Piper, who was kitman at Bradford, they put a protein shake into my windscreen cleaner. So when I'm in the middle of the motorway driving home, and I start putting my wiper a washer on, and it comes out with chocolate protein. So I can't see a thing in the middle of the M62 because there's just chocolate protein all over my windscreen. I have to pull over and get a bottle of water out of the side of my pocket I had. I just had to run it all over my windscreen and just drive home with no. I couldn't see a thing. I just had chocolate protein on my car for about 3 weeks. They was always up to no good then at Bradford.
Oh, that's quality, is that? So, in terms of, have you got any other stories from when you were at Bradford or anything like that before we sort of move on now to sort of back at Whitehaven, that sort of
Not that I can think of. I did try to get pipes back with that. I bought a clamp, a car clamp. I thought I need to go bigger against him here because he used to tie it. I don't know if anyone's seen it on my Instagram. He tied my boot up once with brown tape. I had a pair of brand new Pumas, and I was proper buzzing with them, like lime green ones. I think I won them a couple of times. So pipes kitman had taped them both together and then taped it dead tight with brown tape on the top, and I couldn't get it off for months. I don't think I wore them again that year because he abused my stuff. So I bought a car clamp, and I said to Garth I'm going to use it one day when he's at Odsal, because he used to leave his car where we trained. I can't think of its name now. He used to leave his car where we trained and drive the van with all the kit into Odsal. So I knew if I did the van at Odsal, he wouldn't be able to get back to his car where we were training. So I went to get it once. I think he caught me, and I was absolutely fuming. I had this clamp in my hand, thinking, "Oh God, that would have been the best trick ever." And still to this day, I wish I got him, because he wouldn't have been able to move, and I'd have just left him at Odsal. I wouldn't have gone back. I wouldn't have helped him. I'd have been straight down at M62 back to Leigh. I'd have just been sat at home eating my pizza or whatever I was after a game, laughing at him. So I wish it happened.
Oh, that's quality, is that? So obviously, away from that sort of funny side of it and that sort of thing. Now, obviously, you're back at Whitehaven now. Obviously, we're back last season, but I mean, last season was a bit of a write-off anyway. So, what's it like to be back, sort of back up in Cumbria, back at Whitehaven?
It's great. Yeah, it's last couple of years obviously been frustrating. Obviously with the situation at home and stuff. Obviously with leaving Bradford.
Yeah,
Then I went back to Leigh. I think I played 3 or 4 months, and then I just couldn't get a game. My form weren't great, but I was training hard and just still couldn't get back in the team, and it was just frustrating. I kind of fell out of love with rugby with it. And then obviously went again for the year after, and obviously Forest was a big party pooper and stopped everyone from playing rugby and having a bit of fun. And obviously the pandemic, and obviously everyone had to lock down, and obviously we couldn't get the season started back up with costs and stuff. And obviously our leagues only being part time, a few of them are full time, so it was frustrating. It kind of almost, I missed it, but then in the back of my head I'm thinking, you know what, I'm actually enjoying being at home with the family all the time. And obviously I knew it wouldn't last like that, because obviously if I'd have to get a job one day and come to the real world, as everyone calls it, or all my mates call it. So I just kind of fell out of love with rugby for a bit, and then it's not actually well known, but I actually signed at the end. I think it was September time. I'd actually signed at Ottawa, so I was all for, because we were based in Preston. Going to give Ottawa a go and see how it went, because it was the only club I had at the time full time, and obviously I didn't have any jobs lined up. Obviously that fell through, and fortunately I got offered a deal at Whitehaven. They were obviously interested before, but I didn't have a job and I wouldn't be able to do it. And I was thinking about security of my family and just being able to pay bills and just to be in the house and things like that. So Whitehaven came along, and unfortunately, I think a couple of years after that, I got offered a teaching job, which is my dream job in the future. I always wanted to go into teaching. I want to be a PE teacher or a maths teacher, believe it or not. I only can count to six at the moment. I'm a rugby player. I can only count to six, but it's a start. So I've always wanted to go into teaching. So Whitehaven came in, it was just kind of snapped their hand off and said, "Oh, it's I know I'm getting to 30 now, and obviously rugby league's not forever, so I need to start looking at my future." And Whitehaven agreed and said that they'd help me out with obviously the situation at home, and if it needs me training because of the wife and the kids and stuff, I can do, and train when I can really. But been pretty fortunate that I've been able to train a lot, obviously with work help me out around the situation, because we understand I've got rugby and commitments at home, so they've helped me out massively. So I just can't thank both my job and the club enough for what they've done.
Oh, that's great. That gives a really good insight on sort of play, like from a player's point of view, what it's actually like. COVID's being like in terms of there is no work, whether obviously you can't play or anything like that, and then obviously the semi-pro players as well. Whatever, depending on what sort of the trade is or what they do, there's not much work there either. I imagine it's not ideal, especially with kind of the cutthroat nature of, I guess, professional sport in general. Anyway, and you know what I mean. It's not ideal at all.
Massive, yeah. I think it was July-ish time, and there was people being announced, and people were signing fit players. Like obviously, a lot of clubs were signing up, thinking obviously they're going to sign the squad up early, and because of COVID, they don't want to lose anyone. And mine just seemed to drag on and drag on and drag on, and I was at the point where I think it was September, and obviously I was on a 1 year deal which ended in November, and I was thinking I'm not going to have a club, I'm not going to have a job, because I had no real qualification. I have qualifications, but there were nothing that I can jump into a job that should be able to support me and my family. So I was panicking. It was, I can't believe the stress that was going on. It was nights. Sometimes I'm not gonna afraid to say that the nights where I was sat there crying, thinking what's my future hold, and I was thinking I don't want to go into a job where I'm gonna hate. And sometimes you have to do that in life. You have to go into a job where, no disrespect to anyone who stacks shelves, but you're stacking shelves and you're working overtime, you're working nights, you miss work for your family. But for the situation I've got here, I want to be as home as much as possible. And fortunately, I've fortunately landed on my feet, as it's so to say. And I've got a club that understands, and I've got a job that understands. And I'm teaching Monday to Friday, and I've got weekends off with play rugby and with the family, which I'm really enjoying. And it's definitely a lot harder than being full time. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to work, getting up at 6:30, going to work and getting home at, well, meant to finish at 4, but sometimes I'm not leaving till 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Sometimes getting home, and it's hard being able to come home and unwind. And when you've had a hard, stressful day, and then some days you've obviously got to go straight to Whitehaven and train. So it is hard, and I have a lot of respect for the part-time players. I was obviously part-time before, but I didn't really have a full-time job. And lads that have been doing it for years and years, I can't do anything but tip my hat to them, because people that have been full time all their life playing Super League have never really experienced what these lads do and what they do, and make the game as exciting, and turn up every week and make the competition what it is. It's just really should appreciate them, and should be some recognition for them lads.
Yeah, definitely. I think recently, in sort of past sort of 5 or so years, which has probably come with the emergence of the Championship as being more kind of mainstream rugby league. Definitely, with the teams that have gone down and how the teams have got better, a lot of players there's a bit more awareness out there for players now. It seems of like, even if you need to step down to Championship and go semi-pro, that sort of thing, and kind of the life after rugby. Really, I think there's a lot more out there now than there probably were 5, 10 years ago. Definitely, which I think's
Yeah,
definitely good.
definitely. I had yeah, big thanks to, I'm gonna give him a shout out, Steve McCormack. Obviously, with the situation with Ottawa and stuff like that, I was in a pretty dark place. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought I had a contract and a job, and then obviously having been out without having a job and trying to sign at Whitehaven and things like that, it was just him to just have that talking to, and just having that ear. And obviously the wife and the family and that have always been brilliant to listen to me and help me along the way, and always supported me, and I can't thank them enough. But sometimes you need an outside view, and Steve was brilliant with that. He talked through what I should do next and where I need to go and who I need to speak to, and and offer me people to talk to, like people at Sporting Chance if I needed to, and things like that. And it's great the IFL have got things like that to help in place. And I know a few years ago it was kind of, you get dropped and that's it. You're out there on the streets, and no one wants to help you get back into any job or any kind of club, and you've just got to fend for yourself. And but there's definitely systems in place now which will help people in the future, especially the younger generation, and hopefully they won't have any mental health issues, well, as much mental health issues with it going along after the rugby league life.
Yeah, definitely, mate, 100%. So going on now, kind of a question for this coming season with Whitehaven, which hopefully it's looking good COVID wise and everything like that. Season obviously starts off in a sort of a couple of weeks. So you're 41 points from 1,000 career points. Are you hitting that this year? Do you
I've done
reckon?
it. I've done it.
Have you done? Have you done it? Go
Yeah, I've
on.
done it. I done it. Yeah, I done it last year. Apparently, I did it last year anyway. I got told it was I needed two. I was on 999. No, I was on 999. I think when we played Dewsbury last year, and everyone was wishing me to go over and score, but I think we ended up playing Sheffield the week after, and we scored in the last minute. And Ben Reynolds said, "Do you want to kick it?" And I was halfway between touchline and sticks, and it was one of those you think, yeah, you should kick this easy, but there's a good chance you can miss it. It's one of them I missed at Fev, and I missed that for that record. And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, and he went to, do you want to take it? And I went, not really, because it's one of these I should kick, and I'm not going to kick it with all this pressure. And they literally stood 5 meters away from me, going, Greg, don't miss, don't miss. And luckily, I kicked it. Some say it just creeped over, but it went through the post for me, so that's all that matters. And I ended up getting it, and so yeah, I've been on 1,001 points, I think it is now. And I've not scored since, so I'm stuck on that for a while, I think.
Yeah, so in terms of Whitehaven this season, how are you? Obviously, I mean, when we did on the podcast when we did our predictions for the championship, I actually did have Whitehaven quite high up. I think should do really well. So, like, how do you think Whitehaven are going to do this year? How do you think sort of obviously you're training with the boys, you're playing with the boys, and that sort of thing? How's it looking? All looking good or?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's surprised me. not disrespectfully, it surprised me how the quality of like obviously I've not been back home. I've not seen White Evan play for the last few years, and there's a lot of youth players coming through, and it's there's a lot of all the players that have been there when I was there as well. And it's good to see, and the structure they've got in place and what they're building and the plans for the future really is good. It's obviously it's always slow with White Evan. It's there's a lack of funding obviously up there from the RFL sort of thing that they should kind of throw into Cumbria Rugby League. If you work it in your Barrows and your White Evans should be being pushed to have a Cumbrian team in Super League for me. There's a wealth of talent up there and it just gets bypassed and they end up signing at places like Wigan, Saints, Leeds, Bradford. I think James Ornson, for example, he went down there and he'd have been a great signing for White Evan, obviously coming through. And I think he was at scholarship with me at the time. And so you lose a lot of talent like that. But this year there's abundance of talent again, and Charlo's got a real good squad going. I think we've got a big squad. I think we've got a squad of 28, 30. I think we've got. Obviously, I think we're expecting a lot of knocks and niggles. Obviously, with no one playing for 12 months, we found out the weekend we played Newcastle in the pre-season friendly, and it was tough. The new rules back to 6 and getting used to kicking the ball out and being able to stand in the middle of the field with the ball is just weird again. And obviously it's proved at the weekend with a big squad's going to be needed because obviously Newcastle obviously had a bad injury to one of the young kids. We should want to wish him a speedy recovery. I think Ollie, I think his name is, and just want to wish him a speedy recovery and hope he gets back from that soon. But obviously every club's going to have a lot of knocks, and I think it's the thing with Championship is it's yeah, you've got your Toulouses and your Fevs who spend big money, and then you've got York and Halifax behind him, but anyone can beat anyone on the day, and that's what I love about it. It's not you go to Super League and it's like you're watching Sky and you're like, oh, these lot should beat these lot, and they're saying should beat these, Wigan should beat these, and it's not like that in Championship. Anyone can beat anyone. If you're not 100% on that day and someone turns up a couple of percent better than you and on the ball with it, they will turn you over, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like I think Swinton went to Toulouse the other year and beat Toulouse, and they were bottom of the table at that time, and no one expected that. So it can happen. So you need to be on your game, and we know that. And everyone says there's a bit of advantage with White Evan because you've got a 3-hour travel, and no one likes playing on our pitch because in winter months it's doggy, it's big, we've always got a big pack, we always go down the middle. But I think we've developed a lot more over the years now. White Evan have got especially this year, we've got a lot more mobile pack, and we've got a lot more ball play in us, and hopefully we can get a few big teams at home and cause some upsets, and just make sure we try and win our own games and pick a few away games off and see where it takes us. Because I don't think anyone will break away from, apart from obviously the Febs and Toulouse and York, maybe Halifaxes. I think the rest of them will all be pretty close together, and it'll just be a very tight league. Anyone could beat anyone, as I say.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I think even, like you said, Newcastle, even a team like that who've come up and the way they've strengthened as well, and kind of they're bringing in kind of the Super League players who maybe didn't work out in Super League. They're a bit sort of the young players who maybe haven't made it sort of first team Super League and sort of strong squads and that. So what I'm going to ask you is, yesterday against Newcastle in the friendly, you were playing halves, weren't you? I saw. Did you play
yeah. We had one of our Kiwi halfbacks to come over. Just had a bit of a back niggle, and there was no point risking. It was one of those games that he could have played, but we just had to rest him, and they asked me to step up, and it was kind of not my official second debut, but making another debut at halfback again, and pulling out a shirt, and special moment just walking out, and there's no fans there and stuff, and it wasn't even on Facebook or anything like that, or our league app to watch, but it was just a proud moment to walk out, and I don't mind the old game at halfback. Sorry, it's nice to get back and try and see the game from another angle instead of running around like a headless chicken at fullback, trying to not get my head whacked off, and try and control the game and try and play in a bit of a dinner suit that a lot of halfbacks have done over the years. So it was a nice change, but hopefully not something I'll stick to in the future, I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, is that going to be a sort of a trend for this season, or do you think it'll kind of be sporadically when you sort of needed to fill in?
I just speak to Charlo. I think he wants me at fullback. I'm hoping anyway. I'll twist his arm hopefully and make him play me there. But as I say, I I've done it at other clubs like Leigh. I'll play anywhere as long as I get a shirt on and I get to play a game of rugby. I think I played on a wing a couple of times a couple of years ago at Leigh. Not saying I enjoyed it. It was one of those games that we won and it was happy to be involved and I'd be on the field, but not my position. I feel like I can help with and try and change a game, sort of, and help a result at the end. But it's something I'm willing to play half back if needed. One of those positions. It's very similar to fullback. A lot less running and all that, but a lot more tackling, which obviously suits my big frame, and I'll be able to knock everyone around like I can do.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Right, so just to sort of close off, what we're going to do is, this weekend, it's obviously round one at Challenge Cup. So we're going to just go through fixtures and we'll I'll just ask you for a one word prediction of each game. So I'll go through.
Yeah.
So, London, Keighley, what are you reckoning?
You know, I'm gonna
Keighley
stick
look
my neck
really
on
good,
the I'm gonna stick my neck on the line and say Keighley. You know, because I know London obviously are full time and stuff, but I think Keighley have recruited very well, and I know Scott Morrell didn't play at the weekend, and he's experiencing around the game and what level he's played. I think it could be a deciding factor, and I think it's with Scott Morrell that fast track suits him as well. So I think he'll go all right.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I'll say London, but I mean, I watched the Bradford Keighley game, and Keighley did look really good. To be fair, I could see them getting up from League One. To be honest, they've recruited really well. So next up, one that you're obviously going to be involved in, Whitehaven, Dewsbury. I'm assuming you're backing the boys.
I can't say Dewsbury, can I? Because I probably get sacked and I get hated. No, yeah, it's be tough. Obviously, Whitehaven's last game of I think it was 380 odd days ago was against Dewsbury, and I think it was in a Challenge Cup, and Dewsbury got one over on us. So hopefully we get to return a favour this weekend and hopefully get the win and kickstart our season, because we win that and then move on to the next round and we're into the start of the season. So we want to start well, but it'll be no easy game. Dewsbury obviously a tough team led by obviously Liam Finn and Paul Sykes, who are bags of experience. So we just need to keep our eyes on them and hopefully come away with the win.
Yeah, definitely. I'll stick with Whitehaven as well. I won't go against you.
It's a good idea. Good decision.
So next up, Oldham versus Barrow.
Ooh, a tough one that. I think Barrow signed very well. They've recruited well. They've gone for a big push this year as well. But I'm gonna go. Being a Cumbrian in me, I'm gonna go Barrow.
I'll go Oldham, but I think Oldham they've not looked too bad in friendlies, but I do think they may struggle in Championship potentially. But again, against Barrow, they'll want to get off to a good start, as every team will. Next, West Wales Widnes, which is one with a bit of a talking point with obviously Gavin Henson and Rangi Chase making their debuts for West Wales. So, can you see an upset in this one?
I'm interested to see how Gavin Henson goes. I don't know, because he's obviously played the highest level of rugby, and I don't think he realises what the level that obviously he's going to be playing in League One, what the level's going to be like. He's going to get whacked off the ball, whether he knows it or not. He's going to get some profs going to fly off the line and try and make a name for themselves. He's talking about rugby union, where you can wrap your hands around and cuddle them. You can whack them and get away with it sometimes. And so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. And obviously we all know what Rangi's like. Rangi's Rangi. He can win it. He can win a grand final. He can win a Challenge Cup final if he wanted to. If he turned it on. But I just think Widnes will just be too much for them. Obviously they've come a long way since West Wales. Sorry, they've come a long way since we were at Bradford and we played them, we beat them by 100 odd points, and they've performed a lot better and recruited very well. But I just think Widnes, with the name in the Challenge Cup as well and the history with it, I think they'll come away with the win.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I probably agree with you on that one, especially with it being on West Wales pitch, which is quite a fast pitch. West Wales have got quite a fast pitch anyway, so I do think it'll suit sort of Widnes. So next up, which I think will be probably one that ties it round really, Swinton against Newcastle.
Yeah, I've got split loyalties here. I've got two good mates playing for each team. I've got Martin Ridyard on one and Josh Woods on the other, who we get along real well with. So it's going to be a tough one. But I watched Swinton. Obviously, Swinton did well against Bradford. I thought Swinton came good towards the end, but I know that Bradford made a lot of changes, and like Bruffy and Jordan Lilly and Evan Pickers, they all went off towards the end. So it was more or less not a reserve team, but a younger Bradford team at that time, and Swinton managed to scrape a win. But Watching obviously playing against Newcastle, I know what sort of threats they've got. Their right edge is the biggest right edge I've ever seen in my life. It's got Yakumatai and Matty right on that edge, and I think if they get a lot of ball towards them, I think they'll take some stopping and probably cause a lot of damage to teams, everyone in this league. But I think it's gonna be a tough one. But I'm gonna go with Swinton just to nick it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think again, Swinton's pitch probably isn't the fastest pitch, and I think Swinton can play at that pitch. And when I saw him against Bradford, they do look good. And when you've got a player like sort of Martin Ridyard in halves, you know what you're going to get, don't you? He's like bags of experience and quality as well. So yeah, I'll
Yeah,
back Swinton
exactly.
as
Yeah.
well on that one. So Halifax Batley.
No, I seriously think that Halifax will be very underdogs this year. I think they'll be very big underdogs. I think they will actually shock a lot of teams. And Simon Griggs has got a lot going on there, and they've recruited well again. And I just think they'll shock a couple of times. So I'm going to go with Halifax, especially just because it's not on the famous slope at Batley.
Yeah, I think if it were at Batley, it might be a different story. But again, I think
Yeah.
Halifax have recruited really well, to be fair. So Sheffield York, I think this will be a good tie as well at Sheffield.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sheffield on that pitch and that 4G, and they always have a go. Sheffield, Matt Aston's teams are always tough to play against and they're expansive. But I watched the UFC versus York the other night, and I just thought York have got a bit of class about them this year. The new halfbacks, obviously got young like Riley Dean and the Brendan. I can't remember his second name, or Har or something like that. The Aussie, he's got a
Yeah,
bit about
he
him as
went really
well.
well.
Yeah, and I just think York will be too strong for them in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, bringing in a player like Adam Cuthbertson, who's won grand finals and that sort of thing, it can only make team better. So next up, the bit I think probably tie it round, arguably, and I've obviously got, as a Bradford fan, got something in it, and obviously you've played for both of these teams as well. Featherstone, Bradford, at Fev.
Yeah, it's a tough one. This, cause I think obviously on paper you think of fair bit of the squad they've got. Because I remember looking at their 1 to 17 the squad numbers and thinking, wow, it could have stepped up to Super League if they got the call. But it's the old John Keir in the Challenge Cup in it. I'll never write John off because I know I've been in his team talks and stuff, and it can make you be playing Tiddlywinks at all and make you more fired up. So like you're playing against a Challenge Cup final at Tiddlywinks. He's got one of them, that ability in him, and obviously what he did with Leeds the other year against Leeds the other year was massive. And I wouldn't. I'm gonna say Feb just, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Bradford win in the end because of a John Keir masterclass.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say Fev as well as a Bradford fan, just because I know Fev have started off really well in friendlies and Bradford have looked maybe a bit shaky, but I think it'll be close. But I do think Fev have just got that extra little bit of class in there. Like a player like Chris Wellham and sort of the big
Yeah,
props have signed from Super League and stuff. So I'll go with Fev. So that's an all round one, and then obviously round 2 week after, and then we get straight into the season. So
yeah,
that's been it, mate. So thanks for being a guest, and everyone at home, please subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, leave a review and that sort of thing. And any sort of questions or anything like that you've got for us, leave that. And big thanks to Greg for coming on as a guest. So yeah, cheers, mate.
yeah. Cheers, thanks for having me.